Scientists have discovered ancient forests with animals and plants that they thought were extinct in several sinkholes hidden deep in the mountains of China.
And we have no idea. We are all very excited to find something new.
It began with a hole so vast it seemed to swallow the earth itself, a gaping wound in the limestone hills of southern China that drew engineers, geologists, and curious locals to its edge. Rumours spread quickly that engineers had drained a massive sinkhole, and what they discovered below left the world in disbelief. While the truth turned out to be less dramatic than the wild stories online, it was far more extraordinary and scientifically groundbreaking. Let's unveil it now. Geographic and geological context. Deep in southern China lies Liye County, a rural district tucked within the Guangxi Zhuang Autonomous Region, a province renowned for landscapes that appear to have been sculpted by water and time themselves. The county, governed administratively by Beisi City, covers an area of roughly 2,500 square kilometers and is home to just over 120,000 people, most belonging to the Zhuang ethnic minority. Liye is part of a larger geological zone that ranks among the most dramatic and scientifically valuable on the planet. The South China Karst. This region, stretching across Guangxi, Guizhou, Yunnan, and Chongqing, represents one of Earth's most complete and active examples of karst development. Over eons, natural processes of dissolution, erosion, and collapse have transformed its limestone foundation into a labyrinth of cliffs, towers, caves, and sinkholes that define the landscape today. Geologists classify Guangxi's terrain as karst. The term comes from the German word karst, itself named after the Karst Plateau on the border of Italy and Slovenia, where this kind of topography was first studied in detail during the late 19th century. Karst forms only under specific geological and climatic conditions. It begins with the presence of soluble bedrock, usually limestone, dolomite, or gypsum, deposited over hundreds of millions of years in warm, shallow seas. The region that is now Guangxi once lay beneath a vast tropical ocean during the Devonian and Carboniferous periods, some 350 to 400 million years ago, when thick layers of calcium carbonate accumulated on the seafloor. As tectonic forces uplifted these deposits over geological time, they became exposed to the atmosphere and surface water, setting the stage for a slow but relentless process of chemical erosion. Rainwater, slightly acidic due to dissolved carbon dioxide forming carbonic acid, seeps into cracks and fissures in the limestone. Over millennia, this weak acid dissolves calcium carbonate within the rock, gradually enlarging crevices into tunnels and tunnels into caverns. What begins as imperceptible etching eventually yields massive voids beneath the ground. When these subterranean chambers grow too large to support the weight above, they collapse, producing the sinkholes, or tiankengs, that punctuate the Guangxi landscape. This process unfolds on a timescale so long it defies ordinary human measurement. Individual sinkholes can take hundreds of thousands to millions of years to form from the first chemical reactions between rainwater and rock. The South China Karst, which encompasses more than 550,000 square kilometers, is widely recognized as one of the world's greatest natural laboratories for studying these processes. In 2007, UNESCO designated it a World Heritage Site, acknowledging its exceptional geological significance and aesthetic grandeur. The protected zones include iconic locations such as the Libo Karst in Guizhou, the Shilin Stone Forest in Yunnan, and the Wulong Karst in Chongqing. Guangxi's section, which includes the Liye Fengshan Geopark, was added in 2014, highlighting its enormous tiankengs, underground rivers, and vertical cliffs as world-class examples of mature karst morphology. The term tiankeng, meaning heavenly pit, is unique to China and refers to sinkholes more than 100 meters deep and wide that open directly to the surface. These natural shafts often connect to vast cave systems below and can harbour distinct ecosystems sheltered from the outside world. The Lai Fengshan region is especially rich in these phenomena. Surveys conducted by the Institute of Karst Geology under the China Geological Survey have documented more than 30 Tiankengs within a few hundred square kilometres. Among them are the Dashiwei Tiankeng, discovered in 1994, which measures roughly 613 metres deep, 600 metres wide, and 670 metres long, one of the largest sinkholes known anywhere on Earth, and the Shenxiantang and Xiaozhai Tiankengs, each formed by successive cave collapses over immense timescales. The newly explored Laie Sinkhole that drew global attention in 2022 is geologically part of this same karst network. It is linked through a complex system of caves and subterranean streams that trace the ancient flow paths of groundwater beneath the Guangxi Hills. The local environment around Laie displays the signature traits of humid subtropical karst: rounded hills of bare limestone known as Fengkong, conical peaks called Fenglin, and valleys carved by disappearing rivers that sink underground and re-emerge elsewhere as springs. The annual rainfall here averages around 1,500 millimeters, a crucial factor in sustaining karst activity. The region's temperatures remain mild year-round, with averages near 20 degrees Celsius, creating ideal conditions for the slow dissolution of carbonate rock. Over time, these climatic and hydrological influences have sculpted Guangxi's landscape into a terrain of extraordinary relief, where the visible ground seems only the surface expression of a much larger, hidden world below. Scientists studying the Laie sinkhole note that its geometry likely formed through a series of progressive collapses of an underground chamber once supported by a river system. Geophysical mapping shows that the underlying limestone is riddled with cavities extending for several kilometers. As groundwater drained through these voids, the roof eventually weakened, giving way in a single catastrophic collapse that opened the pit to the sky. Similar processes have been documented in other parts of the South China Karst, where the combination of high rainfall, thick carbonate strata, and active tectonics creates the ideal conditions for sinkhole formation. The geological age of the bedrock surrounding the Laie Tiankeng is estimated at 250 to 300 million years, dating to the late Permian period, when massive limestone layers were deposited in shallow marine environments. Fossil evidence within these rocks includes crinoids, brachiopods, and other marine organisms that once thrived in those seas. Today, these same rocks tell a story of constant transformation as surface water continues to dissolve them and expand the subterranean network beneath Guangxi. The discovery of the Laie sinkhole in 2022 offered scientists a rare cross-section through this geological history, exposing the vertical architecture of the karst system from surface soil to ancient cave floor. Beyond its scientific value, Guangxi's karst terrain plays an important role in local ecology and hydrology. The porous limestone acts as a natural reservoir, storing groundwater that supports agriculture and rural communities. Discovery of the sinkhole. In May 2022, a team of Chinese cave explorers and geological scientists made international headlines when they announced the discovery of a massive sinkhole hidden in the forests of Laie County, part of the Guangxi Zhuang Autonomous Region in southern China. The finding was first confirmed and reported by Xinhua News Agency, China's official state media, and soon after covered by leading global outlets such as The Guardian, Live Science, and National Geographic. The news described an immense natural cavity, a so-called Tiankeng, a term in Mandarin meaning heavenly pit, that had remained unrecorded despite lying within one of the most thoroughly mapped karst regions in Asia. The discovery represented not only a new addition to China's already extensive catalogue of karst landforms, but also an invaluable scientific window into the processes shaping one of Earth's most extraordinary geological systems. The discovery was part of a systematic exploration initiative conducted by researchers from the Institute of Karst Geology, an institution operating under the China Geological Survey and specializing in the study of limestone topography, groundwater systems, and cave environments. The team's mission in Laie was to carry out a high-resolution survey of the region's subterranean networks as part of a broader South China karst exploration project, which had been ongoing since 2019. Using aerial reconnaissance data, drone mapping, and local guides familiar with the terrain, the team identified an anomaly. This was a vast, shadowed depression surrounded by steep limestone walls located in the dense subtropical forest near the village of Pingyi in Laie County's Dashiwei area. On May 6, 2022, the expedition team descended into the sinkhole using professional single-rope techniques, a standard method for vertical caving. The descent required rappelling nearly 200 meters from the rim to the forested floor below, a journey that took over an hour under tightly controlled safety protocols. The sinkhole's near vertical walls, combined with unstable rock layers and thick vegetation, posed serious logistical challenges. Once inside, the scientists used laser rangefinders, drone-based photogrammetry, and GPS instruments to obtain accurate measurements of the cavity's scale and geometry. Data later verified by Xinhua indicated a depth of approximately 192 meters, or about 630 feet, a length of roughly 306 meters, or just over 1,000 feet, and a width of about 150 meters, which is close to 490 feet. To place those dimensions in perspective, the sinkhole was large enough to contain a 40-story skyscraper, or the entire block of high-rises from New York's Central Park West within its walls. It ranked among the largest sinkholes ever documented, comparable to the Dashiwei Tian Keng, which is 613 meters deep, also located in Laie County, and the Shaozhai Tian Keng in neighboring Chongqing Municipality, which at roughly 662 meters deep remains the world's deepest known sinkhole. The newly mapped cavity was thus not an isolated feature, but part of Guangxi's intricate system of interconnected karst depressions. The Laie sinkhole was not the first of its kind to be discovered in China, but its state of preservation and biological richness immediately distinguished it. When the exploration team reached the bottom, they encountered a pristine environment largely untouched by human activity. A dense forest filled the base of the pit, its canopy reaching nearly 40 meters high, while sunlight filtering through the opening above created a natural greenhouse effect that sustained an abundance of plant life. The explorers described trees as tall as 12-story buildings, and an undergrowth dense enough to obscure visibility at shoulder height. Such ecosystems, scientists later explained, form in large open tiankengs, where enough light and moisture can penetrate. The discovery attracted particular interest because of its potential implications for biospeleology, which is the study of organisms that inhabit caves and karst systems. According to Chen Lixin, the leader of the Guangxi expedition team, the interior environment of the Laie Tian Keng was so isolated that it might host species not yet described by science. Although no new species were immediately confirmed, biological samples were collected for further analysis at the Institute of Karst Geology's laboratory in Guilin, about 300 kilometers east of Laie. The scientists emphasized that the forest at the sinkhole's floor appeared to represent a relict ecosystem, possibly preserved from environmental changes that had altered the surrounding surface landscape. Moreover, the structure's vertical geometry and smooth internal walls suggest that it was formed through progressive collapse of a large underground chamber within a limestone bedrock system dating back to the late Permian period, roughly 250 million years ago. Over countless centuries, surface water rich in carbonic acid infiltrated cracks in the limestone, enlarging them into underground rivers and caverns. When the roof of one such cavern became too thin to support the weight above, it collapsed catastrophically, exposing the hollow to the surface. Sediment analysis from the Lai floor revealed layers of fine-grained limestone debris and organic matter, confirming that multiple episodes of collapse had occurred. The Institute of Karst Geology and the China Geological Survey have long focused their research on such formations because they serve as indicators of regional hydrology and landscape stability. Guangxi's karst systems provide groundwater to millions of residents, and sinkhole formation can directly influence water supply, agriculture, and infrastructure planning. Following the 2022 discovery, the Lai County government, in collaboration with the Guangxi Geological and Environmental Monitoring Center, initiated additional mapping projects to ensure that surrounding areas were stable and to identify potential tourism development zones within environmentally sustainable limits. In the months following the discovery, the Lai sinkhole became a focal point for both geological and ecological study. Survey teams conducted 3D scans to construct a digital elevation model of the pit and surrounding terrain, allowing scientists to visualize underground drainage pathways that connect it to nearby cave systems. Satellite imaging by the China National Space Administration's Gaofen 2 satellite further refined the area's topographic data, providing unprecedented insight into how karst depressions evolve here. Findings at the bottom. The newly documented sinkhole in Lai, Mai County, Guangxi, was a naturally open geological cavity, shaped entirely by the collapse of a subterranean chamber and by the continuous erosion of limestone over millions of years. The team entered through its natural mouth and descended by rope nearly 192 meters, about 630 feet, to reach the base. What awaited them below was not a barren void, but a living, breathing ecosystem that had evolved in near isolation. The sunlight filtering into the pit was the first indication that this was not a typical cave environment. Because of the sinkhole's sheer size, approximately 306 meters long and 150 meters wide, its upper rim allowed daylight to penetrate deep into the interior. This light, softened by the depth and the angle of the sinkhole walls, created a perpetual twilight across the floor. The explorers found themselves surrounded by a dense, humid forest, its canopy stretching upwards nearly 40 meters, or 130 feet, toward the rim, where the sunlight appeared as a faint halo above. The air at the bottom was cool and moist, with relative humidity measured at over 90%, conditions ideal for supporting subtropical vegetation. The Lai sinkhole acted as a natural greenhouse, a sheltered pocket of biodiversity insulated from the region's broader environmental fluctuations. The vegetation was unlike anything the researchers had expected to see. Photographs released by Xinhua News Agency and later analyzed by ecologists from Guangxi Normal University showed broad-leaved trees, vines, ferns, and thick undergrowth that reached the explorers' shoulders. Many of the tree trunks exceeded 2 meters in circumference, suggesting that the forest was mature, likely having developed undisturbed for centuries. Botanists identified the plant community as representative of an evergreen broadleaf subtropical forest, a biome once widespread across southern China before large-scale agricultural development began transforming the landscape thousands of years ago. Here, in the depths of the sinkhole, remnants of that ancient ecosystem had persisted, protected by the pit's steep limestone walls that prevented grazing animals, logging, or human disturbance from reaching it. Scientists described the vegetation composition as a living fossil record of pre-industrial southern China's forest ecology. Early surveys identified species belonging to the Lauraceae and Fagaceae families, as well as ferns and mosses adapted to low-light, high humidity conditions. While many of the plant species were already known to science, the unique environment raised the possibility that some might represent previously undocumented variants. Samples were collected for genetic sequencing at the Institute of Karst Geology's Guilin laboratory, where DNA analysis would help determine whether the sinkhole harbored endemic flora. The floor of the sinkhole was uneven and partially covered in detritus from earlier rockfalls, providing a varied terrain of limestone boulders, soil patches, and shallow depressions where rainwater accumulated. In these pockets, explorers noted small aquatic invertebrates and microalgae, evidence of a functioning food web. The presence of decomposing plant matter, fungi, and organic soil layers indicated a complete nutrient cycle independent of human influence. Although the team's expedition was brief, lasting less than 48 hours due to safety and logistical limits, they reported a thriving microclimate with stable temperatures near 20 degrees Celsius or 68 degrees Fahrenheit, even as surface temperatures fluctuated widely above. This thermal stability, combined with constant moisture, made the environment ideal for the persistence of ancient forest species. During their descent, the scientists also documented 3 large cave openings within the sinkhole's limestone walls. Each appeared to lead into deeper subterranean passages, possibly linking to known underground river systems in Guangxi's extensive karst network. One of these openings, approximately 50 meters wide, was found near the base, half concealed by vegetation. According to Chen Lixin, leader of the Guangxi exploration team, such openings are typical of Tiankeng morphology, remnants of the original cave that collapsed to form the sinkhole. These side passages may extend for several kilometers and could provide critical clues about groundwater flow patterns beneath Lai County. The biological and geological isolation of the Lai sinkhole has made it an invaluable site for the study of ecosystem resilience and evolutionary adaptation. The forest at its base effectively functions as a microhabitat cut off from surrounding ecosystems. Its flora and fauna experience reduced exposure to environmental stresses such as pollution, deforestation, and invasive species, a rarity in the modern era. According to Professor Zhang Yuanhai, a senior geologist at the China Geological Survey, this isolation offers scientists an opportunity to examine how life adapts to stable but enclosed ecosystems over long periods. It may reveal parallels with other isolated ecological environments, such as Mobile Cave in Romania, where unique species evolved independently in complete darkness, or Son Dung Cave in Vietnam, where sunlight penetrates deep enough to sustain jungle-like vegetation similar to that found in Lai. Although no new animal species have yet been formally described from the Lai sinkhole, early field notes recorded sightings of insects, spiders, and small amphibians living within the moist forest floor. Bioacoustic equipment detected chirping and rustling sounds consistent with frogs and cicadas, organisms that thrive in humid environments. Entomologists have proposed follow-up expeditions to study these populations in detail as karst ecosystems elsewhere in China, notably in Guizhou and Chongqing, have yielded endemic invertebrate species previously unknown to science. From a geological standpoint, the discovery added to China's record of over 30 documented Tiankengs, concentrated primarily in the provinces of Guangxi, Guizhou, and Chongqing. Each of these formations represents a distinct stage in karst evolution and provides data about the long-term hydrology of southern China. Sinkholes like Lai act as conduits for surface water to enter underground aquifers, shaping river systems that support both human populations and wildlife. The Institute of Karst Geology has used such sites to study subsurface erosion dynamics, carbonate dissolution rates, and the interaction between rainfall and groundwater flow. The Lai sinkhole, with its open access and well-preserved interior, now serves as a reference site for these processes. Ecologically, the forest floor of the Liaitiankeng may represent one of the most undisturbed ecosystems in China's karst region. It provides a natural laboratory for understanding how plant and animal communities maintain balance in confined environments. Researchers are particularly interested in the forest's carbon cycle, how organic matter decomposes and recycles in an isolated microclimate. The presence of large trees and continuous undergrowth suggests efficient nutrient retention, aided by the limestone's mineral content and by the absence of human interference. Environmental scientists have pointed out that such enclosed systems can help model biodiversity resilience under changing global climates, offering insight into how ecosystems may respond to isolation. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on our new uploads. Also, don't miss this video you see on your screen right now. It's truly unbelievable.